Kindling the flame holds kindly all memory. Kindling the flame holds kindly all love. Kindling the flame holds kindly all life. Kindling the flame holds kindly all here. Words of Cody Millard. Good morning.
Morning.
Welcome to Cross Street Chapel's Sunday service. I'm grateful, as Kay writes, to hold you kindly all here, those who are here in person and those who are here online, either now or at later times. And I hope that whatever it is that you've come seeking into this space, be it a space of joy and laughter and celebration, a space of repose and remorse and sorrow and tears, a space where you might hear a few words of wisdom, possibly from myself, but more likely from other learned figures, or of course a chance to connect with one another and the divine. Whatever you've come seeking here, I hope it will be found, and I hope you will find a warm and welcoming community. And that is somewhat of a theme for today's community. We kindle, with Kay Millard's words, the flame that lights our chalice. We turn now to the words of T.S. Eliot. When the stranger says, "What is the meaning of this city? Do you huddle close together because you love each other?" What will you answer? We dwell together to make money from each other? Or, this is community? And as much as Manchester is a commerce-centered city, we are here for our community, and I hope you will find that. I hope you've brought good voices too as we sing our first hymn in the Purple Book, our very own Peter Sampson's "Leave Behind Your Bags and Baggage," hymn number 87. We turn now to a time of prayer. This is followed by our covenant, which is printed in your order of worship and will appear online for those at home. But first, a few words. May we know the joy of transforming some part of the world. In our lives, may we seek to make a difference, to help create the Eden that lingers in our hearts. May the forks we encounter be clear. May we know what path to take, and when we veer off course, may we find our way back. Eventually, may the world we see in the daylight be the world we see within our greatest dreams. May the trials and challenges that have tripped us in the past, the wrong turns, either through choice or circumstance, be not roadblocks as we progress along our journeys. May we find the rightness in those taxing times. May this gracious world be reflected in our actions towards others, aiming to be ever more compassionate, caring, and forgiving. May we feel safe to challenge the world's injustice and to befriend the stranger. Amen. And please read with me our covenant. We gather here in sacred fellowship to witness the fullness of our lives and all life, to hold and be held, tell stories and listen, to be renewed and renew the world. We speak with care and patience. We act with gentleness and compassion. We forgive each other and ourselves. In faith that we build beloved community, we renew our covenant today. Amen. Our first reading as well is written in the form of a responsive reading, so you're invited as well within the congregation. I'm sorry for those who are following online that you've just had the name and not the inclusion. But for those who are here gathered, we'll read the poem Beginners by Denise Levertov. And please read the bold section, and then I will read the plain text. And then obviously the very last line we can all read together. But we have only begun to love the earth. We have only begun to imagine the fullness of life. How can desire fail? We have only begun to imagine justice and mercy. Surely our river cannot already be hastening into the sea of non-being. Not yet, not yet. There is too much broken that must be mended. We have only begun to know the power that is in us if we would join our solitudes in the communion of struggle. So much is unfolding that must complete its gesture. So much is in bud. So much in bud in the earth as spring begins, and so much in our lives, so much potential. So you have a chance to share those buds of your life, the joys and sorrows, the trials and the challenges in our candles of joy and sorrow. If you wish to come forward and light a candle and say a few words, please come to the microphone so those listening online, those using the loop system can hear. If you are online, please type into the chat box and we will read your message out. You're invited, of course, to light a candle in silence if that's your desire. And as always, if you wish to remain seated, know that your presence here is enough. Nothing more is asked of you than just the sort of attentive sharing that we have. And as has been said, this portion of the online broadcast will be excised after the service. So if you feel uncomfortable sharing something, thinking that it will carry on beyond this hour, know that it will be removed. For all those joys and sorrows here spoken, and those that remain silently in our hearts. Please join with me in singing our next hymn in the Purple Book, John Andrew Stories, The Human Touch, hymn number 161. Thank you. Our second reading today, I read a few years ago now at chapel. It's one of my favorite sort of inspirational stories in a way, written by M. Scott Peck. It's entitled "The Rabbi's Gift." The story concerns a monastery that had fallen upon hard times. Once a great order, as a result of waves of anti-monastic persecution in the 17th and 18th centuries and the rise of secularism in the 19th, all its branch houses were lost, and it had become decimated to the extent that there were only 5 monks left in the decaying mother house: the abbot and 4 others, all over 70 in age. Clearly, it was a dying order. In the deep woods surrounding the monastery, there was a little hut that a rabbi from a nearby town occasionally used as a hermitage. Through their many years of prayer and contemplation, the old monks had become a bit psychic, so they could always sense when the rabbi was in his hermitage. "The rabbi is in the woods. The rabbi is in the woods again," they would whisper to each other. As he agonized over the imminent death of his order, it occurred to the abbot at one such time to visit the hermitage and ask the rabbi if by some possible chance he could offer any advice that might save the monastery. The rabbi welcomed the abbot at his hut. But when the abbot explained the purpose of his visit, the rabbi could only commiserate with him. "I know how it is," he exclaimed. "The Spirit has gone out of the people. It is the same in my town. Almost no one comes to the synagogue anymore." So the old abbot and the old rabbi wept together. Then they read parts of the Torah and quietly spoke of deep things. The time came when the abbot had to leave. They embraced each other. "It has been a wonderful thing that we should meet after all these years," the abbot said. "But I have still failed in my purpose for coming here. Is there nothing you can tell me, no piece of advice you can give me that would help save my dying order?" "No, I am sorry," the rabbi responded. "I have no advice to give. The only thing I can tell you is that the Messiah is one of you." When the abbot returned to the monastery, his fellow monks gathered around him to ask, "Well, what did the rabbi say?" "He couldn't help," the abbot answered. "We just wept and read the Torah together. The only thing he did say, just as I was leaving, it was something cryptic, was that the Messiah is one of us. I don't know what he meant." In the days and weeks and months that followed, the old monks pondered this and wondered whether there was any possible significance to the rabbi's words. The Messiah is one of us? Could he possibly have meant one of us monks here in the monastery? If that's the case, which one? Do you suppose he meant the abbot? Oh yes, if he meant anyone, he probably meant Father Abbot. He has been our leader for more than a generation. On the other hand, he might have meant Brother Thomas. Yes, certainly Brother Thomas is a holy man. Everyone knows that Thomas is a man of light. Certainly, he could not have meant Brother Elred. Elred gets crotchety at times. But come to think of it, even though he is a thorn in people's sides, when you look back on it, Elred is virtually always right. Often very right. Maybe the rabbi did mean Brother Elred. But surely not Brother Philip. Philip is so passive, a real nobody. But then, almost mysteriously, he has a gift for somehow always being there when you need him. He just magically appears by your side. Maybe Philip is the Messiah. Of course, the rabbi didn't mean me. He couldn't possibly have meant me. I'm just an ordinary person. Yet, supposing he did, suppose I am the Messiah. Oh God, not me. I couldn't be that much for you, could I? As they contemplated in this manner, the old monks began to treat each other with extraordinary respect on the off chance that one of them might be the Messiah. And on the off chance that each monk might themselves be the Messiah, they began to treat themselves with extraordinary respect. Because the forest in which it was situated was beautiful, it so happened that people still occasionally came to visit the monastery to picnic on its tiny lawn, to wander along some of its paths, even now and then to go into the dilapidated chapel to meditate. As they did so, without even being conscious of it, they sensed the aura of extraordinary respect that now began to surround the 5 old monks, and seemed to radiate out from them and permeate the atmosphere of the place. There was something strangely attractive, even compelling about it. Hardly knowing why, they began to come back to the monastery more frequently to picnic, to play, and to pray. They began to bring their friends to show them this special place, and their friends brought their friends. Then it happened that some of the younger men who came to visit the monastery started to talk more and more with the old monks. After a while, one asked if he could join them. Then another, and another. So within a few years, the monastery had once again become a thriving order, And thanks to the rabbi's gift, a vibrant center of light and spirituality in the realm. The Rabbi's Gift by M. Scott Peck. Let us return now to a time of prayer. These are the words of George Kimmich Beach. Everything begins on the verge of awareness. The dawn is not, and then is. Sleep is, and then is not. In between is the awakening. The passage of thin light between breaks open the day. The passage of thin sound between flows into day. Too soon, the numbing rumble of traffic swells, and the day glares. Let the soft haze hang again across the row of morning. Wait upon the narrow moment, the first awareness of being in between. Live days and seasons on the thin edge of dawn, in praise that every single thing begins now. And so we enter into a period of silence for reflection, meditation, contemplation, and personal prayer. Thank you, reading. I've said it before, but I love the low bassoon sounds that you can almost just sort of swim in. There's a chance for us to sing now as we join in song with our next hymn, number 154, Cecily Taylor's "The Bright Wind is Blowing, the Bright Wind of Heaven." Hymn number 154. I had a joyful conversation this past week. Someone who attended worship, having grown up in another faith, spoke clearly about our faith and its often misrepresentation by others. I'm speaking, of course, for those unfamiliar with the notion that Unitarianism is a place where you can believe absolutely anything. There's absolutely no restrictions and no boundaries. The perception that we are an anything-goes religion without expectation or boundaries. I might be accused of hypocrisy, as I actually had the Cole Porter song, "Anything Goes," sung at my induction, but I assure you that it was done firmly with tongue in cheek. On the contrary, I have sometimes asked us to consider, what does our religion ask of us? Which makes it sound rather encumbering. Aren't we here because we want a free religion? And doesn't that mean a religion free from obligation, commitment, responsibility? It is how we are sometimes painted, though I hope and expect many meeting today and thinking of their faith throughout the week would disagree. When I ask what our faith asks of us, I focus not merely on religious obligation, but rather on what the religion is that we are obliging. I mean to dissuade the notion that we practice a religion completely bereft of duty. Rather, it is whatever duties we follow, our rituals, our awareness, our community, that generates our religion. Think about what brought you here. Either historically, for instance, were you seeking something, or was there some part of you that felt unfulfilled? Or perhaps you might want to ask that question for today specifically. Is it a custom or a ritual that has brought you here? What would it take to leave today and say, now I am complete? Of course, this is a more specific question, being at church today. For many other aspects of the week, seek to foster a response from their faith. Perhaps you leave here not feeling complete, but more confident of the week ahead. Church is not just for Sundays. So what constitutes your faith? Is it the beliefs that you hold? Is it the practices, recurring or otherwise? Or is it the community that you seek to uphold here? Reflect and hold on to these questions and thoughts for a while. M. Scott Peck's story is usually read as the need to care for one another and the blessing that might come from such an exercise. And I think it has a lovely sense of mirth about it, especially as we meet those different monks with their varied dispositions. But I sometimes wonder as well how we might have heard the story if the community had not grown. If they did begin to give better care to one another and themselves, and open up their sanctuary and provide a loving, generous space for the wider world. What if they had done all of that and things had remained the same? Or perhaps seen a meager improvement, enough to sustain themselves as they were, but not to generate that picture of flourishing success written in the story. Were that to be the case, would they be the lesser for it? Would they think, well, this hasn't worked. Let us return to their previous state of surly disinterest. I don't expect that to be the case. Because when they begin amending their behavior, living by the natural expectations of their faith, that extraordinary respect that M. Scott Peck writes, that joy is in the relationship. The healed camaraderie, the healed sense of self-respect, it needs no other goal than that task. This transformation is one hope for faith. And yes, we might hope and have faith that things will grow and flourish. But we also need to show a love and a care for that act itself, for the act of being generous and loving and caring and extraordinarily kind. Last week I talked about building our cathedral. M. Scott Peck's story as well reminds us that cathedrals always hold the potential for an inspirited humanity. I like to think of those ancient complexes dedicated to a community's spiritual growth. They're not just, a single room. There are side chapels, libraries, quads. It was not merely a space for what we might perceive as traditional worship. Every part of their building, every moment in their lives could be used to advocate for a better world. Here as well, we gather for many reasons, as you are hopefully all contemplating. This space and even this time is malleable. It is wide enough for many causes, and I hope limber enough to embrace both the stoic during meditation and the enthused participant. We have a wonderful chapel that may hold simultaneously many beliefs and practices. I hope the space can continue to feed people's interests and spirit, both their wants and their needs. Reflecting on our own stories, in our own time, have we acquired here what we have set out? Have we gained something different or something more? For some, religion is about knowing the other, whether it be a divine source, useful information, or an ever-increasing sense of compassion. For these people, faith may then even be the expectation and hope that by diligently seeking the good will find its way to us, whether it is what we expect or not. Is what we hope for what we will actually get? And if not, is that okay? Perhaps one of the greatest disciplines is appreciating the gifts in life that we have been blessed with, and recognizing the path we have taken as, if not what we have expected, still worthy of walking. This isn't to become complicit in the pain of the world or in our lives, but it is to recognize the joys that we have and use the energy to share it, to find those joyless parts of the world,
I love how the expression misery loves company may mean more than simply people wallowing in self-pity. That in fact it can be a gift of ours to find those in pain and to share what we have. Misery loves company, so let us seek out the miserable and give them companionship. We come here for many reasons: to sit, to pray, to commune, to sing, to listen, to be heard. Reasons for which I hope we will find edification. And when we think we have found what we are seeking for, I hope we may be thankful for what we do find. Amen. A few notices before we sing our final hymn, and my advance apologies for those who are following online. We have images of the notices, but I can't actually recall what order they're in. So what I say may not line up with what you see. Our upcoming services next week, we mark International Women's Day, which is Wednesday, but we'll be celebrating it on Sunday with our service. The following Sunday is Mothering Sunday, and then the Sunday after that is our AGM. If you are interested, please do join our service for that. It's a shortened service. Then we have a bring and share meal along with the actual meeting, which is an opportunity to learn about the chapel's past activities over the past year, upcoming activities over the year to come, and of course elect our new committee. If you are a member, please do consider joining our committee. We're grateful for as many hands on deck as we can. And please do come. It's really a joyous event. I've always been grateful for the congregation's sort of participation in the AGM. And if you are coming and are able to bring a dish to pass, please do sign up so that we know any dietary requirements you might have, as well as what you might be bringing. Our recital this month features Ruying Wang on bassoon, so that's the 31st, Friday at 1 p.m. Our recitals are free, but we're grateful for any donations. They normally go to the artist, but Ruying has asked that they be given to Cats Protection Charity. So please do join us for that. That's Friday the 31st at 1 p.m. Are there any other announcements that I may have left off? We have tea and coffee after the service. Do we have anyone willing to do that? Thank you, Joe. And we're grateful for any donations. You can donate online at justgiving.com/Cross Street Chapel Manchester. If you're here in person, we have a retiring collection along with envelopes if you're a UK taxpayer, so we can claim gift aid. And as well as I said, signing up to be on the committee, please do sign up as well for volunteering roles such as greeting, reading, providing flowers, and assisting with the tea and coffee. There is, after this service, a short communion service. The way we have communion here in this church is, firstly, it is not required and it is not restricted. So if you wish to participate, you can. If you wish to sit and observe, then please do so. If you wish to go have tea and coffee early, you're welcome to do that as well. I ask, though, that if you are taking communion, to sit in this front row so I know who you are, and I'll make sure. And then if you just want to observe it, which is absolutely fine, please sit in either of the subsequent rows. We use grape juice, and we also have a regular bread, but we also have gluten-free for anyone who might require it. So please do join us for that. But before then, let us now sing our final hymn in the Purple Book, number 68, I Dream of a Church, hymn number 68.
Thank you, Ruing, for the music. Thank you, William, for the IT. Thank you, Joe, for the tea and coffee. Robin for greeting, and Sonia for helping to set up. And thank you to all of you for creating and sharing worship today. We close with the words of Rabindranath Tagore. Nirvana is not the blowing out of the candle. It is the extinguishing of the flame because day has come. Amen.